The rain hammered against
Good
the
morning.
floor-to-ceiling
What can I
windows
get
of the
for you
Hartwell
today?
Technologies boardroom.
I'll have the breakfast
Like it was trying
burrito
to break
and a large
through.
black coffee,
Ethan
please.
Hartwell stood at the head of the conference table, 32 years old and worth $3.2 billion, presenting the merger that would define his career. The 12 board members watched him with the same expression they always wore, respect mixed with calculation. They saw the numbers, not the man. He clicked through the final slide. Lancaster Tech, $800 million. 6 months of negotiations compressed into 40 minutes of presentation. When he finished, the room filled with the particular silence that comes before applause or interrogation. Harrison, the oldest board member, leaned back in his leather chair. Actually, it was approval. Then his phone buzzed. Mother, the screen read. He let it go to voicemail. She called again immediately. Patricia Hartwell did not understand the concept of bad timing, or perhaps she understood it perfectly and simply did not care. He excused himself, stepping into the hallway where Manhattan stretched out below him through walls of glass. The city looked clean from 40 stories up, orderly. Nothing like the mess his personal life had become. He answered. Darling, his mother said, her voice carrying that particular brightness that meant she was planning something. About the charity gala tonight. Mother, please. I have invited the Whitmore daughter. Lovely girl. Graduated from Yale. Her father sits on the hospital board. Ethan closed his eyes. 6 months. It had been 6 months since Victoria, and his mother acted like he was recovering from a cold, rather than a betrayal that had nearly cost him his company. I am not interested in meeting anyone. 6 months is long enough to mourn, Patricia said. You need to move on. I am not mourning, I am relieved. Then prove it. Show up tonight with someone. Anyone. Just stop hiding behind your work. The call ended before he could respond. That was Patricia Hartwell's style. State your position, then retreat before the other side could mount a defense. She had not built a multi-million-dollar charitable foundation by accepting no for an answer. Ethan returned to the boardroom. The board approved the merger unanimously. He should have felt triumphant. Instead, he felt tired, the kind of tired that sleep does not fix. His assistant Jennifer appeared as the board members filed out. Your car is waiting, she said. The gala starts at 7. He grabbed his suit jacket from the back of his chair. The charity gala. 300 of Manhattan's wealthiest citizens gathered to congratulate themselves on their generosity, while networking for their next deal. And his mother would be there with another perfect match. Another polished debutante who saw him as a prize to be won rather than a person to be known. He had a thought. Impulsive. Possibly stupid. But the exhaustion of dodging his mother's matchmaking attempts for 6 months had worn down his better judgment. He needed a buffer, a shield, something simple and transactional that would get Patricia off his back for one evening, just long enough to focus on the business contacts he actually needed to make. Take me to Rosie's Corner Cafe, he told his driver. 3 blocks from here. The driver raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Billionaires were allowed their eccentricities. Rosie's Corner Cafe sat wedged between a dry cleaner and a bodega, the kind of place that served actual food to actual people instead of $7 lattes to status seekers. Ethan had never been inside. He simply knew it existed because he had walked past it 100 times on his way to more important places. The rain had stopped, but the street still gleamed wet. He pushed through the door and a small bell chimed. The interior was warm, not expensive warm, but genuinely comfortable. Mismatched chair, scuffed wooden tables, the smell of coffee and something baking. A few customers sat scattered throughout. An elderly woman reading a newspaper. A young man with paint-stained hands sketching in a notebook. A construction worker eating pie at the counter. They looked up when he entered, then looked away. Just another person in a suit. Then he saw her. She stood behind the counter with her auburn hair pulled back in a simple bun. Green eyes, late 20s, maybe 30. She wore a red apron over a black uniform and moved with the kind of efficiency that comes from repetition. Grace earned through practice rather than taught in finishing schools. There was something about her, an intelligence in the way she carried herself, a dignity that had nothing to do with designer clothes or expensive jewelry. She was serving coffee, but she was not defeated by it. She looked up as he approached the counter. For just a moment, something flickered across her face. Recognition, maybe. Then it vanished behind professional courtesy so smoothly he wondered if he had imagined it. Coffee, he said. Black. To go. Her voice was soft but carried an undertone of strength. Of course, sir. Anything else? He should have said no, should have taken his coffee and left. But the memory of his mother's phone call and the evening ahead made him reckless. Actually, yes, I have a proposition for you. She set down the coffee pot she had been reaching for, one eyebrow raised, not afraid, just interested. I am listening. The cafe seemed to hold its breath. The elderly woman glanced over the top of her newspaper. The construction worker stopped mid-chew. I need someone to accompany me to an event tonight. Play the role of my wife for a few hours. I'll pay you $1,000. The silence that followed had weight to it, physical. The construction worker put down his fork. The young artist stopped drawing. Everyone was watching now. And Ethan realized with creeping mortification that he had made a terrible miscalculation. The woman, whose name he still did not know, set the coffee pot down with deliberate precision. Her green eyes turned cold, not angry cold, something worse, disappointed cold, like she had expected better, and he had confirmed her lowest expectations instead. Let me get this straight, she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but something sharp lurked underneath. You walk in here, do not even ask my name, and assume that because I am serving coffee, I am desperate enough to be bought for the evening. He opened his mouth. She was not finished. Here is a proposition for you, Mr. Hartwell. Yes, I know who you are. Why do not you take your $1,000, your assumptions about people you know nothing about, and leave? I am not for sale. The rejection hit him like a physical blow. In his entire life of privilege and power, no one had ever looked at him with such a mixture of disdain and dignity. Women pursued him, flattered him, schemed to be near him. They did not tell him to leave. An older woman emerged from the kitchen. She had warm brown eyes, graying dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, and flour dusting her apron. Her face carried the kind of weathered kindness that came from years of feeding people and listening to their troubles. Claire, is everything all right? Claire, so that was her name. Everything is fine, Rosie, Claire said, and her entire demeanor softened when addressing the older woman. This gentleman was just leaving. Rosie looked between them, sensing the tension but not the cause. Her accent carried the faint music of someone who had learned English as a second language but spoke it perfectly now. Claire pulled out his wallet. He extracted a $100 bill for the $5 coffee. Keep the change. We do not need your charity either, Mr. Hartwell. But he did not take the money back. He could not seem to make his hands work properly. His pride was stinging and his face felt hot. I apologize, he heard himself say. That was presumptuous of me. He turned toward the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. But the offer stands if you change your mind. I will be here tomorrow, same time. Do not bother, Claire called after him. But he was already gone, the bell chiming his exit. He climbed into the back of his Mercedes, and the driver pulled away from the curb. Ethan stared out the window as the cafe disappeared behind them. He could not shake the image of those defiant green eyes. In his entire life, most people saw his wealth first. His name, his power. They saw what he could do for them. Claire had seen something else entirely, and she had not liked it. His phone buzzed, a text from his mother. Do not be late tonight. There is someone I want you to meet. Ethan groaned and let his head fall back against the leather seat. Without a buffer, tonight would be unbearable. But more than that, he found himself genuinely curious about the mysterious Claire, who had turned down easy money with such fierce pride. Who turns down $1,000 for a few hours of work? Who was she really? Back at the cafe, Claire's hands trembled slightly as she cleaned the counter. The adrenaline of confrontation was fading, leaving behind a hollow feeling in her chest. Rosie approached with concern written across her weathered face. Mia, what was that about? Claire forced a smile. Just another rich man who thinks everything has a price. But that was not entirely true. She had recognized Ethan Hartwell the moment he walked through the door. 3 years ago, before her world collapsed, she had been on track to make partner at Morrison & Foster, one of Manhattan's most prestigious law firms. She had researched Hartwell Technologies for a potential merger case. She knew exactly who he was. What he did not know was who she used to be. Sarah Mitchell had graduated top of her class from Columbia Law School. She had everything. A corner office with a view, a nameplate that read associate attorney, a fiancé she loved, a future so bright she had needed sunglasses. Then Nathan Foster, her colleague and the man she had planned to marry, had done the unthinkable. Claire forced the memory away. That was not her life anymore. That woman, Sarah Mitchell, did not exist. She had become Claire Bennett, and Claire served coffee and kept her head down and tried very hard not to think about everything she had lost. "You okay?" Tommy, the young line cook, emerged from the kitchen wiping his hands on a towel. He had become like a younger brother to her over the past 2 years. "I am fine, Tommy. Just another day in paradise." But as she served her way through the rest of her shift, Claire could not stop thinking about the look on Ethan Hartwell's face when she had refused him. He had been genuinely shocked, almost vulnerable for a split second before his mask slipped back into place. Despite herself, she wondered what had driven a billionaire to make such a desperate proposition to a stranger. Not that it mattered. She had meant what she said. She was not for sale. Yet as she locked up the cafe that night, walking through the damp streets toward her tiny studio apartment in Queens, Claire could not shake the feeling that her life was about to change again. She had learned to trust that instinct. It had kept her alive through worse. What she did not know was that Ethan Hartwell was not a man who gave up easily. And he always got what he wanted. Almost always. The next morning, Claire arrived at Rosie's Corner Cafe at 5:30 for the breakfast shift. Her mind was still replaying yesterday's encounter. She had barely slept, tossing and turning in her cramped studio, annoyed with herself for letting Ethan Hartwell occupy so much mental space. Rosie was already in the kitchen preparing her famous marinara sauce, even though it was breakfast. The older woman had learned Italian cooking from the previous owner of the cafe, an elderly man from Naples who had taught her everything before retiring to Florida. Now Rosie combined her Mexican heritage with Italian traditions, creating a unique menu that kept customers coming back. "You are here early," Rosie commented, not looking up from her work. "Even for you." "Could not sleep. Thinking about that handsome man yesterday?" Claire felt heat rise to her cheeks. Handsome and completely arrogant. Rosie's eyes twinkled with mischief, but she said nothing more. She had learned long ago not to push Claire on personal matters. The girl had walls thick as castle stones, and Rosie respected them. The morning rush passed in a blur of coffee orders and breakfast specials. Claire had just finished serving a regular customer when the door chimed. She did not need to look up to know who had entered. She could feel his presence like a shift in air pressure. The cafe seemed to recognize it too. Conversations quieted. Customers glanced toward the door. Ethan Hartwell stood in the doorway, and this time he was not alone. A sophisticated woman in her 60s accompanied him, designer handbag, pearls that were definitely real, the kind of understated elegance that only came with old money. His mother, Claire guessed, Patricia Hartwell, philanthropist and Manhattan Society fixture. "Table for two," Ethan said. His dark eyes found Claire's immediately, and something passed between them. An acknowledgement of yesterday's confrontation, maybe an apology, possibly a challenge. "Right this way." Claire grabbed 2 menus with professional efficiency. She was hyper-aware of Ethan's gaze following her movements as she led them to a corner booth, the same booth where old Mr. Pietro always sat on Sundays. As she set down the menus, Patricia spoke. Her voice was warm but knowing. "Ethan tells me the coffee here is exceptional, though I suspect that is not the only reason we are here." Claire maintained her composure. "Our coffee is freshly ground daily. I will give you a moment to decide." "Actually," Ethan interjected, "could we speak privately for a moment?" "I am working, Mr. Hartwell. Please, 5 minutes." Something in his tone made her pause. It was not demanding this time. It was requesting. There was a difference, and the difference mattered. Rosie nodded from behind the counter, giving permission. Reluctantly, Claire followed Ethan to a quiet corner near the kitchen. Up close, she noticed details she had missed yesterday. The slight shadows under his eyes suggesting he had slept as poorly as she had. The way his expensive suit could not quite hide the tension in his shoulders. This was a man under pressure. "I came to apologize properly," he began. "Yesterday I was rude, presumptuous, and completely out of line. You were right to refuse." Claire crossed her arms, waiting. Trust had to be earned, and pretty words were cheap. "But I am hoping you might reconsider. Not because of money, although I will still pay you. Because I am genuinely desperate." He ran a hand through his hair, disrupting its perfect styling. The gesture was so human, so unlike the polished billionaire facade, that Claire felt a flicker of sympathy despite herself. "Why not just tell your mother the truth?" "Because Patricia Hartwell does not take no for an answer. She thinks I am still heartbroken over Victoria." The truth is, I am relieved that engagement ended. His jaw tightened. Claire recognized that particular tension, the muscle memory of swallowing pain. But explaining that would require explaining what Victoria did. And my mother has enough stress with her charity foundation. What did Victoria do? Ethan met her eyes. For a moment, he looked lost. Then he spoke with the careful precision of someone reciting facts to avoid feeling them. She was sleeping with my CFO while stealing company secrets to sell to our competitors. I caught them in my office 3 days before our wedding. The raw pain in those words resonated somewhere deep in Claire's chest. She understood that kind of devastation. The double betrayal of love and trust simultaneously shattered. She knew it more intimately than he could possibly imagine. I'm sorry that happened to you. So you will help me? Hope lit his features, making him look younger, almost boyish. I did not say that. Claire glanced back at his mother, who was watching them with undisguised interest. Patricia Hartwell looked kind, but she also looked sharp, the type who missed nothing. Mr. Hartwell, you do not know anything about me. I could be anyone. How do you know I will not embarrass you? Call it instinct. Yesterday, you demonstrated more class and dignity than most people I know. Plus, you speak with intelligence and carry yourself with confidence. You are educated, are not you? Claire's defenses shot up. What makes you say that? The way you construct sentences, your vocabulary, your posture. His eyes narrowed thoughtfully, and Claire felt exposed under that gaze, like he was seeing through her waitress uniform to the person underneath. You are not just a waitress, are you, Claire? Her heart raced. Everyone has a story, Mr. Hartwell. Not all of them are relevant. Fair enough. He accepted the deflection too easily, which meant he was filing it away for later consideration. Smart. Dangerous. So what do you say? One evening. Help me get through this gala, and I will pay you $5,000. Plus, you would be doing a genuinely good deed by saving me from my mother's matchmaking. $5,000. 3 months of rent. The ability to finally start saving again. Maybe enough to begin the long, expensive process of clearing her name with the Bar Association. But more than that, something about Ethan's honesty had cracked her resistance. He was not trying to manipulate or seduce. He was asking for help, admitting vulnerability. That took courage in a man accustomed to power. What exactly would this entail? Ethan's expression brightened, hope taking root. Arrive with me at 7 this evening. Stay for 3 hours. Smile. Make small talk. Pretend we are happily married. I will introduce you as Claire Hartwell. We will say we had a small private ceremony. Then you go home, and we never have to see each other again. Except I work here, where you apparently get coffee now. I can find another coffee shop. But his slight smile suggested he was not entirely disappointed by that complication. Against every instinct screaming at her to walk away, Claire heard herself say the words, I will do it, but I have conditions. Name them. First, you never ask about my past. Second, after tonight, we are done. No complications. Third, I want half the money up front. Ethan extended his hand. Deal. As their hands clasped, Claire felt an electric current run through her. From the look in Ethan's eyes, he felt it too. They both pulled away quickly, the air between them suddenly charged with something neither had anticipated. I will pick you up at 6. Where do you live? I will meet you here, Claire said firmly. No way was she giving him her address. All right, and Claire, thank you, truly. As Ethan returned to his mother, Claire caught Rosie's eye. The older woman smiled knowingly. Claire had the distinct feeling she had just made either the best or worst decision of her life. That evening, after her shift ended, Claire stood in front of her tiny closet feeling panic set in. She had not attended a gala in 3 years. Her old evening gowns were long gone, sold piece by piece to pay legal fees and rent during the darkest months after her disbarment. She had exactly one decent dress, a simple navy blue sheath she had found at a thrift store for $20. It was fine for a job interview or a funeral. It was not fine for a charity gala, where women wore designer gowns that cost more than her annual rent. A knock at her door startled her. Through the peephole, she saw a delivery woman holding several large boxes. Delivery for Claire Bennett. Confused, Claire opened the door. The woman handed her a card along with the boxes. Inside, Ethan's bold handwriting read, I assumed you might need appropriate attire. Consider it part of the arrangement. Return anything you do not like. Ethan Hartwell. Claire's first instinct was to refuse, to send everything back unopened. Pride warred with practicality. Then curiosity got the better of her. Inside the boxes were 3 stunning evening gowns, a midnight blue Valentino, an emerald Carolina Herrera, a champagne Zac Posen, shoes, accessories, everything she would need, carefully selected by someone who actually understood fashion. She tried on the midnight blue Valentino first. It hugged her curves perfectly, the fabric falling in elegant lines that made her look taller, more graceful. She looked at her reflection, and for a moment saw a glimpse of the woman she used to be. Sarah Mitchell, attorney at law, confident, powerful, whole. Tears stung her eyes. She had forgotten what it felt like to dress this way, to feel beautiful rather than invisible, to see herself as someone who belonged in elegant spaces, instead of someone serving the people who did. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Just want you to feel comfortable tonight. No pressure. See you at 6. It had to be Ethan. Claire stared at the message for a long moment. Then she typed back, "See you at 6. And Ethan, thank you." She chose the midnight blue Valentino. It felt like armor and invitation all at once. As she prepared for the evening ahead, styling her hair in soft waves and applying makeup with careful precision, Claire could not shake the feeling that tonight would change everything. She just did not know if that change would heal her or break her all over again. What she did not know was that Ethan Hartwell had spent his entire afternoon thinking about her too. For the first time in months, he felt something other than numbness, something dangerous and completely unexpected. Interest. At exactly 6 o'clock, Claire stood outside Rosie's Corner Cafe in the midnight blue gown, her hair styled and makeup applied with the skill of someone who had once done this regularly. She had stopped by the cafe first, wanting the familiar comfort before stepping into the unfamiliar. Rosie had cried when she saw her. Maya had whistled. The regular evening customers had applauded. It felt like being sent off to battle by people who believed you could win. A sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the curb, and Ethan emerged from the driver's seat. He wore a perfectly tailored tuxedo that emphasized his broad shoulders. His dark hair was styled elegantly, but it was the look in his eyes when he saw her that made Claire's breath catch. He stopped mid-step, just staring. "You are stunning," he said softly, seeming to forget himself for a moment. "You clean up well yourself," Claire replied, trying to keep her tone light despite her racing heart. Ethan opened the passenger door, and as Claire slid in, she caught the scent of his cologne. Something expensive and subtly masculine. The car's interior was pure luxury. Leather seats, dashboard technology that probably cost more than her yearly income. Everything about this moment reminded her that she was stepping back into a world she had been exiled from. "Nervous?" Ethan asked as they pulled into traffic. "Should I be?" "Probably. My mother is incredibly perceptive. And some of the people there can be—" He paused, searching for the word. "Judgmental, elitist, insufferable," Claire supplied. Ethan laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. "All of the above." "How did you know?" "Lucky guess." Claire remembered countless similar events from her previous life. The subtle hierarchies, the unspoken rules, the way people assessed your worth in the first 3 seconds and rarely revised their initial judgment. "So what is our story? How did we meet?" "I thought we would keep it simple." "Close to truth." "You worked at a place I frequented. We connected over coffee. I knew immediately you were special." His eyes flickered to her. "That part is actually true." Claire's pulse quickened. "And why the secret wedding?" "We wanted something intimate, just us. No press, no fuss. My mother will be disappointed she was not there, but she will understand the romantic gesture." They spent the rest of the drive rehearsing details. Married for 3 months, living in his Tribeca penthouse. Claire had taken time off work to adjust to married life. They had met through mutual appreciation for quiet mornings and good coffee. The lies came easily, each one wrapping them in a shared fiction that felt increasingly dangerous. With every fabricated detail, they were building a house of cards. One strong wind and the whole thing would collapse. The Metropolitan Club was ablaze with lights when they arrived. Valets rushed to open doors. Photographers captured arriving guests, flashbulbs turning the rainy evening into artificial day. Claire felt her anxiety spike, but Ethan's hand found hers, steady and reassuring. "Together," he murmured. "Just stay close to me." They walked through the entrance, and Claire was immediately transported back to her old life. crystal chandeliers throwing rainbow light across marble floors, designer gowns in every color, the hum of wealth and influence, that particular frequency of power consolidating itself. She had forgotten how intoxicating this world could be, how it made you feel special just to be inside it, and how poisonous that intoxication was, how it made you forget that glittering surfaces often hid rot underneath. "Ethan, darling." Patricia Hartwell swept toward them in a silver gown, her eyes immediately assessing Claire. Not unkindly, but thoroughly. This was a woman who had spent decades reading people. "And you must be the mysterious woman from this morning." Ethan's arm slid around Claire's waist, pulling her closer. The gesture was supposed to be for show, but the warmth of his touch felt disturbingly real. "Mother, I would like you to meet my wife, Claire." Patricia's eyes widened. "Your wife? Ethan, what are you talking about?" Her voice carried shock, but also something else. Something that looked almost like relief. "We got married 3 months ago," Ethan said, his performance flawless, his tone mixed apology with happiness. "I wanted to tell you, but Claire and I agreed to keep it private initially." 3 months? Patricia looked between them, emotions warring on her face. Hurt, surprise, but underneath it all, that stubborn relief, like she had been waiting for proof that her son could still feel something after Victoria. "I cannot believe you kept this from me." "I am sorry, Mrs. Hartwell," Claire interjected. Her legal training kicked in with smooth diplomacy. It happened so quickly, and we wanted to be sure before making any announcements. "Ethan speaks so highly of you. I hope you can forgive us for the secrecy." Patricia studied Claire intently. For a terrifying moment, Claire thought she was being seen through, that Patricia could detect the lie the way a jeweler spots a fake diamond. Then the older woman's face softened into a genuine smile. "Well, you are certainly more gracious than the last one. Welcome to the family, dear." She embraced Claire warmly, and the unexpected kindness made Claire's throat tight. "We have so much to discuss," Patricia said. "But first, Ethan, there are several board members who want to speak with you about the merger." As Patricia led them into the ballroom, Claire felt the weight of hundreds of eyes turning their way. Whispers rippled through the crowd like wind through wheat. "Ethan Hartwell got married. Who is she? Secret ceremony. How romantic. I heard she is just a waitress. She must be after his money." "I should have warned you about the attention," Ethan murmured apologetically. "I can handle it," Claire assured him, and realized she meant it. Years of courtroom experience had taught her how to project confidence even when terrified, how to stand in front of judges and juries and opposing counsel and never let them see you sweat. She could handle a ballroom full of wealthy strangers. She had faced worse and survived. What Claire did not know was that somewhere in that glittering crowd, watching her with cold calculation, was someone from her past, someone who recognized her, someone who was already planning how to use this information. The evening had only just begun, and the first cracks in their carefully constructed fiction were about to appear. The next hour was a whirlwind, and Claire found herself swept into it like a leaf caught in a current. Patricia guided them through the ballroom with the confidence of someone who had attended 1,000 events just like this one. She introduced Claire to an endless parade of investors, board members, and society figures whose names blurred together into a meaningless stream of syllables. But Claire smiled, made small talk, played the role of devoted wife with an ease that surprised even herself. Years of courtroom experience had taught her how to read a room, how to adjust her tone and posture to match her audience, how to project exactly the image she needed to project. More surprising was how naturally she and Ethan moved together. His hand consistently found the small of her back, a gentle pressure that guided without pushing. Her body instinctively leaned into his, responding to unspoken cues. They developed inside jokes without trying, little shared glances that suggested years of intimacy rather than hours. At one point, a pompous investor named Sterling, no relation to Patricia's family, asked Claire what she did. "I am taking time to focus on family right now," Claire said smoothly. "But I used to work in corporate law." Ethan's surprised glance was quick but unmistakable. She had not mentioned that detail. "Oh, which firm?" "A small practice. Nothing notable." Claire's heart raced, but her voice remained steady. Years of lying to herself about being okay had made her an excellent liar to others. Ethan smoothly changed the subject, asking Sterling about his recent acquisition. The moment passed, but Claire felt the weight of Ethan's curiosity. He was filing away information, building a picture of who she really was. She would need to be more careful. The orchestra began playing and couples started drifting toward the dance floor. Claire recognized the song, a classic standard, the kind that had been playing at events like this for 50 years. Ethan extended his hand. "May I have this dance, Mrs. Hartwell?" The false name still felt strange in her ears, like wearing someone else's coat, but she placed her hand in his and let him lead her to the floor. On the dance floor, Ethan pulled her close. Not inappropriately close, but close enough that Claire could feel the heat radiating from his body. Close enough to see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. Close enough to notice the faint scar on his jawline that she had not seen before. "You are amazing at this," he murmured. "Natural." "We all wear masks, Ethan. Some are just more obvious than others." "What mask are you wearing, Claire Bennett?" "The one that keeps me safe." "Safe from what?" "From getting hurt again, from trusting people who will use me and throw me away." Ethan pulled her infinitesimally closer. "I will not do that to you." "You cannot promise that. We barely know each other." The song ended. Another began. They kept dancing, and Claire realized she did not want to stop. There was something hypnotic about the movement, the way their bodies fit together, the way Ethan looked at her like she was the only person in the room. "Can I confess something?" Ethan asked. "We are married. I think confessions are allowed. When you refused me yesterday, it was not just my pride that was wounded. It was the first time in years someone saw past the money and the name. You saw me, and you were not impressed." "That is not true." "No, I was not unimpressed, Ethan. I was protecting myself. Men with your kind of power make you believe you matter right up until the moment you do not." "Then let me prove I'm different." Claire's heart was hammering now. "Ethan, we have an arrangement. Do not complicate it." "What if I want complications? What if I want more than an arrangement?" Before Claire could respond, a sharp voice cut through the moment like a knife through silk. Well, Ethan Hartwell married. I never thought I would see the day." They both turned. A stunning woman in a crimson dress was approaching, and everything about her screamed calculated perfection. Dark hair falling in waves over bare shoulders. A smile that managed to be both beautiful and cruel. Eyes that assessed Claire in one sweeping glance and found her wanting. Claire felt Ethan tense beside her, his entire body going rigid. She knew that reaction, had felt it herself when confronted by ghosts from the past. "Victoria," Ethan said coldly. "I did not realize you would be here. Daddy insisted since he is on the board." The woman's gaze raked over Claire with thinly veiled contempt. "So this is the new Mrs. Hartwell. How quaint." Ethan's voice dropped to a temperature that could freeze fire. "Victoria, this is my wife Claire. Claire, this is Victoria Monroe, an old acquaintance." The demotion from fiancé to acquaintance was not lost on Victoria. Her smile turned venomous. "Acquaintance? How sweet. Tell me, Claire, how did you trap Manhattan's most eligible bachelor? You do not exactly seem like his usual type." Claire felt fury rise in her chest, hot and immediate. But years of courtroom training had taught her to control her reactions, to never let the opposition see they had landed a blow. "I did not trap anyone," she said, keeping her voice steady. "Ethan and I fell in love. Simple as that." "Love? How romantic." Victoria's laugh was like breaking glass. "And what do you do, Claire? Besides spend Ethan's money, of course." Other guests were starting to notice the confrontation. Conversations quieted. People turned to watch. This was drama, and drama was currency in circles like these. Before Claire could respond, Ethan stepped forward. His voice was ice cold and absolutely lethal. "That is enough, Victoria. Claire is worth 10 of you. If you will excuse us, my wife and I have better places to be." He guided Claire away, his hand firm at her back. But not before Claire caught the pure hatred burning in Victoria's eyes. This woman was dangerous, wounded and vindictive and accustomed to getting what she wanted. "That woman is going to be a problem," Claire said once they were out of earshot. "I'm sorry about her. She is bitter I moved on." "You did not move on. You hired a fake wife." The words came out sharper than Claire intended. Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. They were near the terrace doors now, away from the main crowd, but still visible to anyone who cared to look. "At first, yes," he admitted. "But Claire, the way I feel when I am with you, the way you handled yourself tonight, how you stood up to Victoria, it is not fake for me anymore." Claire's heart hammered. "Ethan, we have an arrangement. Do not complicate it." "What if I want complications?" His dark eyes held hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "What if I want to know everything about you? Your past, your secrets? Why someone as remarkable as you is serving coffee instead of running the world? You do not know what you are asking. Then tell me." For a moment, Claire teetered on the edge of confession. The words were right there, pushing against her teeth. 3 years of secrets wanting to spill out. But before she could speak, a commotion erupted nearby. A security guard was escorting someone out. Claire looked closer, and her blood ran cold. Her entire body went rigid, breath catching in her throat. It was Nathan Foster, her ex-fiancé, the man who had destroyed her career and stolen her future. Here, tonight, at this event. Their eyes met across the ballroom. Recognition flooded Nathan's face. Shock, then calculation, then something that looked like fear before security pulled him toward the exit. Claire felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Everything she had built, the careful anonymity, the protection from her past, all of it was crumbling because she had agreed to one night of pretending to be someone she was not. Or was it pretending to be someone she used to be? "Claire, what is wrong?" Ethan's concerned voice seemed to come from very far away. "I need some air." The words came out strangled. She was already moving toward the terrace, needing space, needing to breathe, needing to think. Ethan followed, catching her hand. "Talk to me. Who was that man?" The terrace was cooler, the night air washing over her overheated skin. Manhattan glittered below them, millions of lights in the darkness. So many people living their lives, unaware that hers was imploding. "That was my ex-fiancé, the man who destroyed my life." Ethan's expression hardened. "Tell me everything." And against every instinct of self-preservation, every wall she had built over 3 years, Claire began to talk. The words poured out like water through a broken dam. 3 years ago, I was not Claire Bennett. I was Sarah Mitchell. I graduated top of my class from Columbia Law. I had a corner office at Morrison & Foster, one of the most prestigious firms in Manhattan. I was on track to make partner before I turned 30. She looked at Ethan, gauging his reaction. He was listening intently, not interrupting, letting her tell it at her own pace. "Nathan Foster was my colleague, my fiancé. I trusted him with everything, my cases, my research, my future." Her voice broke. "He stole my work, planted evidence on my computer, framed me for ethics violations and embezzlement I did not commit. By the time the Bar Association investigation was over, my law license was suspended, my savings were gone, my reputation was destroyed. And Nathan married the senior partner's daughter 4 months later." Claire wiped angrily at tears she had not realized were falling. "I lost everything. My career, my identity, my trust in people. I became invisible because it was safer than being seen." Ethan pulled her into his arms, and Claire let herself be held. She could not remember the last time someone had held her like this, like she mattered, like she was not broken beyond repair. "I know Morrison & Foster," Ethan said quietly. "I know the senior partner, Richard Foster. We did business together years ago." He pulled back to look at her face. "If what you are saying is true, and I believe you, then you are not just remarkable. You are brilliant. And you have been wasted serving coffee when you should be practicing law again." "It is not that simple. It never is. But nothing about tonight has been simple, has it?" Ethan stepped closer, and Claire could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Stay with me, not as my fake wife, as whatever this is becoming between us. Let me help you rebuild what was taken from you." "Why? Why would you do that?" "Because in 2 days you have made me feel more alive than I have in years. Because you challenge me, intrigue me, and drive me absolutely crazy in the best way possible. Because I think fate brought us together, and I am not fool enough to ignore that." Claire's walls were crumbling, the carefully maintained distance evaporating in the face of his intensity. But fear still gripped her heart. "I am broken, Ethan. Damaged goods. The last thing you need is someone like me complicating your life." "Then it is fortunate I like complications, especially ones with green eyes and a sharp tongue." He cupped her face gently. "Let me in, Claire. Take a chance on something real instead of safe." For the first time in 3 years, Claire let herself hope. Let herself imagine trusting someone again. Let herself acknowledge the pull she had been fighting since Ethan walked into the cafe. "This is insane," she whispered. "Completely," he agreed. "I'm still taking the $5,000. I would not expect anything less." They both smiled, and then Ethan's lips were on hers. The kiss was soft and demanding all at once. gentle but urgent. It held promise and danger in equal measure. Claire had forgotten what it felt like to be kissed like this. Like she was precious. Like she mattered. Like the person kissing her actually saw who she was beneath the armor. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Ethan looked at her with wonder. "So," he said softly, "want to stay married to me for real this time?" Before Claire could answer, a scream echoed from inside the ballroom. They rushed back through the terrace doors to find chaos erupting. Victoria stood in the center of the room, her crimson dress torn at the shoulder. Mascara streaked down her face. She was pointing directly at Claire with a shaking hand. "She attacked me! That woman attacked me!" Claire froze as every eye in the ballroom turned toward her. Hundreds of gazes, most of them hostile. The elegant crowd transformed into a mob in evening wear. Ethan's hand found hers immediately, protective and reassuring, but Claire could see doubt in some faces. Mistrust. The automatic assumption that the waitress playing dress-up had shown her true colors. Everything she had built tonight. The fragile hope, the new beginning, the possibility of something real with Ethan. All of it was about to shatter again. And this time she had so much more to lose. Security guards rushed forward. Guests pulled out phones to capture the scandal. The flash of cameras was blinding. Claire stood frozen, watching her carefully constructed fiction collapse around her. "She is lying," Claire said firmly, legal training kicking in despite the panic threatening to overwhelm her. "I never touched her." "Of course you deny it," Victoria sobbed dramatically. "You are jealous because Ethan used to be mine. You attacked me in the ladies' room." Her performance was worthy of an Oscar, tears streaming at exactly the right moment, voice trembling with just the right amount of fear mixed with courage. This was not improvisation. This was planned. Ethan stepped in front of Claire protectively. "That is absurd. Claire has been with me the entire evening." "Not the entire evening." A silver-haired man in his 60s stepped forward. Robert Monroe. Claire recognized him from society pages. Victoria's father, real estate mogul and member of Hartwell Technologies' board. "I saw your wife head toward the terrace alone about 20 minutes ago. Plenty of time to follow my daughter." Claire's mind raced. She had gone to the terrace, but only after seeing Nathan, and Ethan had followed within seconds. But how could she prove that without explaining why she fled? "Check the security cameras," Ethan demanded. "They will show Claire never went near the ladies' room." "An excellent idea." Robert's smile was predatory. He was enjoying this. "But I am curious why a waitress is pretending to be Mrs. Ethan Hartwell in the first place." The words fell like a bomb. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave hitting shore. Patricia's face drained of color as she looked between her son and Claire. "What is he talking about, Ethan?" Her voice trembled. Victoria's tears had miraculously stopped. Now she wore a triumphant smirk. "Oh, you did not know? I had her investigated the moment I saw her with Ethan." She pulled out her phone, swiping through photos. Images of Claire at the cafe, serving coffee, wearing her apron and uniform. There is no marriage license, no announcement, nothing. She is a fraud. Claire felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Everything was unraveling faster than she could process. She could see the confusion on Patricia's face, the hurt, the betrayal. "Is this true?" Patricia asked, her voice breaking. "Ethan, did you lie to me?" Before Ethan could answer, another familiar voice cut through the crowd. "Actually, there is more to this story than any of you know." Nathan Foster pushed through the gathering. Claire's stomach dropped. What was he doing? Security was supposed to have removed him. "I am Nathan Foster, senior partner at Morrison & Foster. Claire Mitchell is not just a waitress. 3 years ago, she was one of the most brilliant attorneys in Manhattan, on track to make partner before age 30. The crowd murmured with surprise. Victoria's confident expression faltered slightly. She left the legal profession under unfortunate circumstances. Ethics violations. Stolen client information. Falsified documents. It was quite the scandal at the time. "You lying bastard." Claire found her voice, though it came out choked with rage. "You are the one who committed those violations. You framed me." "That is what she claimed," Nathan said smoothly. But the evidence spoke for itself. "I am telling you this, Mr. Hartwell, because you deserve to know what kind of woman you have gotten involved with. A disgraced attorney playing dress-up, probably trying to trap you into marriage for your money." Claire could not bear to look at Ethan's face, could not stand to see doubt or disgust there. This was her nightmare come to life, exposed in front of everyone, her secrets weaponized against her. Again. Ethan's entire body had gone rigid beside her. For a terrible moment, Claire thought he would walk away, that he would believe Nathan's lies like everyone else had. Instead, his voice came out dangerously quiet. "Get out!" Nathan blinked. "Excuse me?" I said, "Get out. Before I have you thrown out." Ethan's tone could have frozen hell itself. He turned to Victoria and her father. "And you two? This entire charade ends now." "Ethan, darling," Victoria tried, switching to a pleading tone. "I am trying to protect you." "Protect me? You orchestrated this entire scene. The torn dress, the accusation, having Claire investigated, even bringing him here." He gestured to Nathan. "You are pathetic, Victoria, and you are done." Robert's face reddened. "You cannot speak to my daughter that way. I am on your board, Hartwell. I can make your life very difficult." "Then do it. But know this. I have documentation of every unethical deal you have pushed through, every bribe you have accepted, every SEC regulation you have skirted. Push me, and I will bury you." The threat hung in the air, heavy and absolute. Robert's expression shifted from anger to calculation and finally to retreat. This was a man who knew when he was beaten. "This is not over." "Yes, it is. Security, please escort the Monroes and Mr. Foster out. Permanently ban them from any Hartwell Technologies property or event." As security moved in, Victoria shot Claire a look of pure hatred. "He will tire of you eventually. They always do with women like you." When they were gone, escorted out still protesting, the ballroom remained silent. All eyes were still on Ethan and Claire. The judgment had not faded, only transformed from scandal to confusion. Patricia approached slowly, her face a mixture of hurt and bewilderment. "Ethan, I need to understand what is happening." Ethan took a deep breath. "Mother, everyone, I owe you all the truth. Claire wanted to run, to flee this ballroom and this city and this life, but Ethan's hand held hers firmly. Claire and I are not married. Yet. But everything else Victoria said was a lie. Claire did not attack anyone. She is not a gold digger. She is the most honorable person I've ever met." Someone called out from the crowd, "You brought a fake wife to this event? What kind of game are you playing, Hartwell?" "The kind where I was trying to avoid matchmaking and focus on business." But something unexpected happened. Ethan turned to Claire, his eyes intense. "I fell in love with her." The ballroom seemed to hold its breath. "What Nathan said about you being brilliant is true. But what he did not mention is that he is the one who betrayed you, framed you, destroyed your career because you were better than him." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "Ethan, you do not have to do this." "Yes, I do, because I am done with lies and games and pretending." He addressed the crowd again. Claire Mitchell graduated top of her class from Columbia Law. She was on track to become the youngest female partner at Morrison & Foster, until her fiancé and colleagues sabotaged her to steal her work and her position. She has been rebuilding her life with dignity and strength. And if any of you have a problem with that, or with me choosing to be with her, you can leave now. The ballroom remained frozen. Then, unexpectedly, Patricia stepped forward. She took both of Claire's hands in hers. "I think I understand now. You were not trying to trap my son. You were protecting yourself from being hurt again." She looked at Ethan. "And you, my stubborn boy, you finally found someone who challenges you." Tears spilled down Claire's cheeks. "Mrs. Hartwell, I am so sorry we deceived you." "Call me Patricia." "And while I am not thrilled about the deception, I recognize genuine feeling when I see it." She smiled. "You love him, do not you?" Claire looked at Ethan. At this complicated, infuriating, wonderful man who had just risked everything to defend her. "Yes, God help me, I do." Ethan pulled her into his arms and kissed her in front of everyone. The ballroom erupted in applause. Some of it was relief that the drama had resolved in romance rather than scandal. Some was genuine happiness. Claire did not care which was which. When they finally broke apart, Ethan whispered against her lips, "Stay with me tonight. Really stay. No more running, no more hiding, just us figuring this out." "What about your reputation? The board?" Robert Monroe could still cause problems. "Let him try. I meant what I said. I am done playing it safe." His thumb brushed away her tears. "Besides, my reputation just became the CEO who publicly declared love for his fake wife. I can live with that." Claire laughed through her tears. "You are completely insane." "About you? Absolutely." As the party gradually resumed, with guests now viewing them with curiosity rather than judgment, Claire allowed herself to relax into Ethan's embrace. For the first time in 3 years, she was not hiding. Someone knew her truth and had chosen her anyway. But as they danced later that evening, Claire noticed something through the ballroom windows. Nathan standing outside in the rain, phone pressed to his ear. His expression was unreadable, but something about his posture set off alarm bells. He had been too calm when security escorted him out, too calculating. Men like Nathan Foster did not give up easily, and she had the sinking feeling that tonight's public humiliation would only fuel his desire for revenge. "What is wrong?" Ethan asked, feeling her tense. "Nathan, he is still out there. He is not done with us." Ethan followed her gaze, his jaw tightening. "Then we will deal with him together. I am not letting anyone hurt you again, Claire. I promise." Claire wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that love could conquer the ghosts of her past. But she had learned the hard way that some demons did not stay buried. And Nathan Foster had always been patient when planning his attacks. As the night drew to a close, Ethan led Claire out of the Metropolitan Club and into his Mercedes. The city lights blurred past as they drove through Manhattan, both lost in thought about what had just transpired. "Are you taking me home?" Claire asked. "That depends. Do you want to go home? Or do you want to come to my place, have some wine, and talk about everything we have been avoiding?" Claire knew she should play it safe. Go back to her tiny studio, process everything that had happened, maintain some distance. But when had safe ever gotten her anywhere? Your place. "But, Ethan, we need to talk about what happens next. Really talk." "I know, no more games, no more arrangements, just honesty." They arrived at his penthouse in Tribeca, and Claire was struck by how different it was from what she expected. Yes, it was luxurious with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, but it was also surprisingly warm. Books lined the shelves, family photos dotted the walls. A well-worn leather couch suggested he actually lived here rather than just existed. This felt like a home, not a showpiece. Ethan poured them wine, and they sat on the terrace, the city sprawling below them like a carpet of stars. The night air was cool, but not cold, comfortable. "Tell me about him," Ethan said quietly. "Tell me what Nathan did to you, all of it." And so Claire told him everything. The stolen case files, the forged documents with her signature, the ethics hearing where her word meant nothing against his evidence, the humiliation of being escorted from the building, the friends who believed Nathan's lies, the 3 years of rebuilding from nothing. When she finished, Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. "I am calling my attorney first thing Monday. We are going to investigate every case Nathan worked on, every document he filed. If he framed you once, he has likely done it before or since. We will find proof." "Ethan, that could take months, cost a fortune, and there is no guarantee we will find anything." "I do not care, you deserve justice." He took her hand. "But more than that, you deserve to practice law again. Not for revenge, but because you are brilliant and the world needs lawyers with actual integrity." "Why are you doing this?" "Because when you walked away from me in that cafe, you reminded me that some things cannot be bought. Dignity, self-respect, honor. You have shown me what real strength looks like, and I want to be worthy of that." He cupped her face gently. "I am falling in love with you, Claire Mitchell. Not the woman you were, not the woman you are pretending to be. The woman you are right now, serving coffee and rebuilding piece by piece. That is who I want." The kiss was inevitable, urgent and tender all at once. They pulled apart breathless, and Claire knew she was at a crossroads. She could run, protect herself, maintain her walls. Or she could leap, trust, and risk everything again. "I am terrified," she admitted. "Me too. But I would rather be terrified with you than safe and alone." They stayed on the terrace until dawn, talking about everything and nothing, learning each other's stories and dreams. As the sun rose over Manhattan, Claire realized something profound. She had spent 3 years surviving. Maybe it was time to start living again. What she did not know was that across town, Nathan Foster was making phone calls, calling in favors, planning his next move. Because if there was one thing Nathan understood, it was that the best revenge required patience. And he had been patient for 3 years. Claire woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, and for a disorienting moment, she could not remember where she was. Then it came back. The gala, the confrontation, the kiss on the terrace, falling asleep on Ethan's couch sometime after dawn, still fully clothed, exhausted from hours of conversation and emotional revelation. Ethan was already awake, sitting at his kitchen island with his phone pressed to his ear. His tuxedo jacket was draped over a chair, his bow tie undone, sleeves rolled up. He looked tired, but alert. When he saw her stirring, he held up one finger. "Wait, I understand," he said into the phone. "Yes, get me everything you can by Monday morning." He ended the call and turned to face her. "My attorney, I wanted to get ahead of this before the news cycle picks it up." The news cycle. Claire had forgotten about that part. Last night's drama had played out in front of 300 of Manhattan's wealthiest citizens, most of them armed with smartphones. By now, the footage was probably everywhere. As if reading her thoughts, Ethan picked up the TV remote. "Should we look?" Claire nodded, bracing herself. The screen came to life, and her stomach sank. Footage from the gala played on every news channel. Victoria's accusation, Ethan's defense, their kiss. The headlines were merciless. Billionaire's fake wife scandal rocks Hartwell Technologies. From waitress to Mrs. Hartwell, modern Cinderella or elaborate con. Manhattan's most eligible bachelor caught in deception. Claire's phone started buzzing. She had silenced it during the night, but now notification after notification poured in. Missed calls, text messages, voicemails. One was from Rosie. "Claire, mija, are you all right? The cafe is surrounded by reporters. They are asking about you, wanting interviews. I told them nothing, but you need to call me." Claire's hands shook as she put down the phone. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. I bring nothing but complications into your life." Ethan crossed to her, taking her hands in his. "Claire, listen to me. This is exactly what they want. For you to run. To prove you were just using me. But we are going to face this together." Before she could respond, his phone rang again. He glanced at the screen and his expression changed. "It is my mother," he answered, putting it on speaker. "Ethan, where are you?" Patricia's voice was tight with worry and something else. Anger, maybe. Or hurt. "At my place, Claire is with me." A long pause. "I am coming over. Do not go anywhere. Do not talk to anyone. We need to discuss what happens next." The call ended. Ethan looked at Claire apologetically. "She has every right to be angry with me. With us. No, you defended me. You risked everything. And in doing so, I lied to my mother for weeks. Used you as a shield. Put you in an impossible position." Ethan ran his hand through his hair, and Claire recognized the gesture now. It was what he did when he was processing stress, when the weight of responsibility pressed down on him. "I should have been honest from the start. With her, with you, with everyone. You were protecting yourself. I understand that better than anyone." 20 minutes later, Patricia Hartwell arrived at the penthouse. She wore a cream-colored suit and carried herself with the same elegant composure she had displayed at the gala. But her eyes were red-rimmed, and Claire realized she had been crying. Patricia set her purse down on the counter and looked between them for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice measured but firm. "I need the whole truth, all of it. No more lies, no more half-stories. If we are going to fix this, I need to know exactly what we are dealing with." Ethan and Claire sat on the couch. Patricia took the chair across from them, and they told her everything. The proposition at the cafe, the refusal, the second chance, the agreement, how the lies had started as convenience and become something else, the genuine feelings that developed, Victoria and Nathan's ambush. When they finished, Patricia was quiet for a long time. The silence was heavy, and Claire felt the weight of judgment pressing down on her. Finally, Patricia spoke. "Claire, dear, I need to know something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Do you have real feelings for my son? Not gratitude, not obligation, real feelings?" Claire met Patricia's gaze directly. "Yes, I did not want to. I fought it. I told myself it was just an arrangement. But yes, I have real feelings for Ethan." "And you?" Patricia turned to her son. "Are you certain? After Victoria, after everything you went through, are you absolutely certain this is what you want?" Ethan took Claire's hand. "I have never been more certain of anything in my life." Patricia stood and walked to the window, looking out over Manhattan. The morning sun caught the silver in her hair, and for a moment she looked older than her 62 years. Tired, worn down by worry and disappointment. Then she turned back to face them, and her expression had transformed. The vulnerability was gone, replaced by steely determination. "Then we make this right. All of it." Over the next hour, Patricia laid out a plan with the precision of a general preparing for battle. She had not built a multi-million-dollar charitable foundation without learning how to manage crises and control narratives. First, she said, "We control the story. By tomorrow morning, we give an exclusive interview to someone we trust. Tell the real story." Ethan asked Claire for help. She agreed. They fell in love during the process. It is actually quite romantic when you frame it properly. Claire shook her head. But the ethics violations, my past, Nathan's accusations. Is your record with the Bar Association or is it gossip? It is official record. Then we clear your name properly. We prove Nathan Foster framed you. We get your law license reinstated. Ethan leaned forward. How? It has been 3 years. Evidence gets destroyed, memories fade, people move on. Patricia smiled, and there was something predatory in it. Nathan Foster is arrogant. Men like him keep evidence of their crimes, insurance policies, protection in case they get thrown under the bus. We find that evidence and we use it to bury him. You want me to investigate my ex-fiancé? Claire asked. No, dear. I want my investigator to do it. I did not build a charitable foundation without learning how to dig up dirt on people who stand in my way. She pulled out her phone and started typing. I am calling Detective Sarah Martinez, former NYPD, now private investigator. She owes me several favors, and she is very good at finding things people want to keep hidden. Claire felt hope stirring in her chest for the first time since waking. This could actually work. With Patricia's resources and connections, with a professional investigator, they might actually be able to prove what Nathan did. What about Victoria and Robert Monroe? Ethan asked. They are still a threat. Let me handle the Monroes. Patricia's smile grew sharper. Robert's company has been having financial troubles for years. Victoria's lifestyle does not match her documented income. I have suspected for some time that they were involved in something questionable. Now I have reason to look deeper. She stood, gathering her purse. I am going to make some calls. You two stay here. Do not answer the door. Do not talk to reporters. By tonight, we will have a strategy in place. Patricia paused at the door, then turned back. And Ethan? Next time you need to avoid my matchmaking, just tell me. I am your mother, not your enemy. I know I am sorry. Patricia's expression softened. You defended her. In front of everyone, knowing it would cause problems, you defended her anyway. That is the man I raised you to be. She looked at Claire. And you, dear, you have been through hell and rebuilt yourself with dignity. That takes strength most people do not have. Welcome to our family. For real this time. After Patricia left, Claire and Ethan sat in silence for a moment. The weight of what was about to happen pressed down on them. This was not just about clearing her name anymore. It was about taking on powerful people who would fight back. Hard. Are you sure about this? Claire asked. Once we start digging into Nathan and the Monroes, there is no going back. They will come after you, your company, everything you have built. Ethan pulled her close. I told you last night I am done playing it safe. We fight this together or we do not fight it at all. They spent the rest of the day at the penthouse, avoiding the outside world while it talked about them. Claire called Rosie to explain and apologize. The older woman was more concerned than angry. The reporters will get bored and leave eventually, Rosie said, her warm voice carrying that slight musical accent. They always do. You just take care of yourself, mija. And that young man of yours, he defended you like a caballero in one of those old stories. That is rare. Claire smiled despite everything. He did not he? You hold on to that one. Men with honor are hard to find. By evening, Detective Sarah Martinez arrived at the penthouse. She was in her mid-40s, compact and efficient, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She carried a leather messenger bag and exuded the kind of confidence that came from years of dealing with the worst humanity had to offer. Patricia made the introductions. Sarah, this is my son Ethan and his girlfriend Claire. I have filled you in on the basics. What do you need from us? Everything. Sarah pulled out a laptop and a yellow legal pad. I need names, dates, case files, anything you can remember about your time at Morrison and Foster. I need to know everyone Nathan worked with. Every case he touched, every person who might have witnessed something questionable. Claire spent the next 3 hours walking Sarah through her entire history at the law firm. The cases she had worked on, the research she had done, the timeline of events leading up to the accusations. Nathan's behavior in the months before everything fell apart. Sarah took notes, asked pointed questions, occasionally stopping to research something on her laptop. By the time they finished, it was after midnight. This is good, Sarah said, reviewing her notes. Really good. Nathan Foster was sloppy. Arrogant people usually are. They think they are smarter than everyone else, so they do not cover their tracks properly. She looked at Claire with something like respect. You gave me more than enough to start with. I will have preliminary findings by Monday afternoon. What are you looking for? Ethan asked. Money, mostly. People like Nathan do not frame someone just for a promotion. There is usually a financial component, embezzlement, kickbacks, something that made it worth the risk. Sarah stood, packing up her laptop. In the meantime, you two keep your heads down. Do not engage with reporters. Do not respond to social media. Let Patricia handle the public relations side while I handle the investigation. After Sarah left, Claire and Ethan found themselves alone again. The penthouse felt too quiet after the intensity of the day. They stood on the terrace, looking out over Manhattan. The city glittered below them, millions of lights in the darkness. What if we do not find anything? Claire asked quietly. What if Nathan really was that good at covering his tracks? Then we keep looking. And if we still do not find anything, we build you a new life anyway. A better one. Ethan turned to face her whole. Claire, I need you to understand something. Even if we cannot prove what Nathan did, even if your name is never officially cleared, it does not change how I feel about you. It does not change what we have, but it changes everything for me. I cannot move forward until I deal with the past, until I prove I am not what they said I was. You have already proven that. To me, to my mother, to yourself, not to the world, not to the people who believed his lies. Ethan pulled her into his arms. Then we will make them believe the truth. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other as the city breathed around them. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles to fight. But tonight, they had each other. And for Claire, that was enough to hope again. The next morning, Patricia arrived early with news. She had secured an exclusive interview with Amanda Price, a respected journalist who owed Patricia several favors. The interview would run tomorrow, giving them control of the narrative before the tabloids could twist it further. Sarah also called with an update. She had already found irregularities in Nathan's financial records, large deposits from offshore accounts, timing that corresponded with several major cases Claire had worked on. It was not proof yet, but it was a thread to pull. By Monday afternoon, Sarah arrived at the penthouse with her laptop in a triumphant expression. I found it, the smoking gun. She opened her computer and turned it so they could all see. Bank records, email communications, digital fingerprints that told a story of systematic theft. Nathan Foster has been embezzling from clients for at least 5 years. The amounts were small enough not to trigger immediate red flags, but over time, they added up to nearly $2 million. Claire stared at the screen, her legal mind processing the information. These are the same clients whose cases I was working on when I was accused. Exactly. He used your access to steal from them, then framed you to cover his tracks. Classic misdirection. Sarah scrolled through more documents. But it gets better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. Your ex-fiancé was not working alone. His uncle, Richard Foster, the senior partner, was in on it. They split the money 70-30. That is why Richard led the ethics investigation, Ethan said. He was protecting himself as much as Nathan. Patricia leaned forward. Can we prove this in court? Sarah nodded. I have everything we need. Bank records, email chains, even recorded phone conversations that Nathan was stupid enough to save. Probably as insurance against his uncle. She looked at Claire. With this evidence, you can petition the Bar Association to reopen your case. You can clear your name and get your law license reinstated. Nathan and Richard will both face criminal charges. Claire felt tears building but refused to let them fall. After 3 years, after everything. Finally, justice. How long will it take? With evidence this solid? Weeks, not months. I will file the petition tomorrow. The Bar Association will have to respond quickly once they see what we have. That evening, Claire returned to Rosie's Corner Cafe for the first time since the gala. The reporters had moved on to other scandals, leaving only a few stragglers who did not bother approaching her. Inside, The cafe erupted when she walked through the door. Rosie, Maya, Tommy, Mr. Pietro, Mrs. Henderson, all the regulars. They cheered and applauded like she had returned from war, which in a way she had. Rosie pulled her into a fierce hug, her warm brown eyes shining with tears. "We have been so worried, mija." "I am okay. Better than okay, actually." Claire looked around at these people who had stood by her when she had nothing, who had believed in her when she stopped believing in herself. "I want you all to know something. When I lost everything 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. But you gave me a family, a home, a reason to keep going." Her voice broke. "And now I am getting my life back. My name is going to be cleared. I am going to practice law again. But I will never forget what you did for me. Never." Mrs. Henderson wiped tears from her eyes. "We always knew you were special, dear. We just knew." Maya grinned. "Does this mean we can stop calling you Claire and start using your real name?" "I think I will stick with Claire. Sarah feels like someone from a different life. Claire is who I became when I learned what really matters." They celebrated late into the evening, and for the first time in years, Claire felt whole. Not just surviving, but actually living, building something real. When she finally left the cafe, Ethan was waiting outside in his Mercedes. He had wanted to give her space to be with her people, but he had insisted on driving her home, or rather, driving her to his place. At some point over the past few days, his penthouse had become their place, though neither had said it out loud. "How did it go?" he asked as she slid into the passenger seat. "Perfect. They are amazing people, Ethan. I wish you could know them the way I do." "I would like that. Maybe we can have dinner there sometime. If they will let me through the door after I propositioned their Claire in front of everyone." Claire laughed. "Rosie already likes you. She says any man who defends a woman like you did is worth keeping. Your Rosie is a wise woman." They drove through Manhattan in comfortable silence. The city looked different now, less intimidating, more like home. Claire watched the lights blur past and realized something important. She was not running anymore. Not from her past, not from Nathan, not from the possibility of being hurt again. She was standing her ground, fighting back, and she was not alone. That night, as they lay in bed, Claire's phone buzzed. A number she did not recognize. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. "Hello?" A woman's voice, cultured and tense. "Mrs. Bennett, this is Jennifer Foster, Nathan's wife. I need to talk to you about my husband." Claire sat up, suddenly wide awake. Ethan looked at her questioningly. "What about him?" Jennifer's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "I found files. In his home office. Evidence of what he did to you. Emails where he admits to forging your signature. Communications with my father about framing you. Proof of embezzlement he blamed on you." A pause then. "I cannot stay silent anymore. You deserve justice, and I deserve a life not built on lies." Claire's heart raced. "Why are you telling me this? You do not know me." "Because I watched what Nathan did to you destroy him. He has become paranoid, controlling. 3 months ago, I found out I am pregnant, and I realized I cannot raise a child with a man who destroys people for advancement." Jennifer's voice strengthened. "I have copies of everything, and I want to help you bring him down." After the call ended, Claire sat in stunned silence. Ethan waited, letting her process. "That was Nathan's wife. She wants to help us. She has evidence." Ethan pulled her close. "Then it is really over. We won." "No, not yet, but we are close." Claire looked at him in the darkness. "Thank you. For believing me. For fighting for me. For seeing me when I was invisible." "You were never invisible, not to me." They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in 3 years, Claire did not have nightmares about the day she lost everything. Instead, she dreamed about the future, about possibility, about hope. What she did not know was that Nathan Foster was having very different dreams. Nightmares about prison, about disgrace, about losing everything he had built on stolen success. And desperate men do desperate things. 2 days later, the interview with Amanda Price aired. Patricia had coached them thoroughly, and the final product was sympathetic without being manipulative. The true story, told with honesty and vulnerability. Public opinion began to shift. Not completely, but enough. Some people still believed Claire was a con artist, but others saw the romance in it, the authenticity, 2 broken people finding each other and fighting to build something real. By the end of the week, the Bar Association contacted Claire's attorney. They were reopening her case based on new evidence. A hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks out. Nathan Foster was placed on administrative leave from Morrison, and Foster pending investigation. Richard Foster resigned quietly, citing health reasons. Everyone who understood Manhattan legal circles knew what that meant. Victoria Monroe was notably silent. Sarah had discovered that Victoria's spending came from her father's company, which was on the brink of bankruptcy. Robert Monroe was under SEC investigation for securities fraud. They had bigger problems than revenge. Everything was falling into place, almost too perfectly. That should have been Claire's first warning. On Friday evening, exactly 1 week after the gala, Claire was working late at Ethan's penthouse, reviewing documents for her Bar Association hearing. Ethan was at the office, dealing with board concerns about the scandal. Patricia had insisted he handle it personally, show strength and conviction. The doorbell rang. Claire checked the security camera and saw Jennifer Foster standing in the hallway, looking nervous and pale. Claire opened the door. "Jennifer? We were not supposed to meet until tomorrow." Jennifer pushed inside, closing the door quickly behind her. "I know, I am sorry, but something happened. Nathan knows about the files, about me talking to you." "How?" "I do not know. But he came home this afternoon and he was different, cold, calculating. He asked me where I had been, who I had talked to. I lied, but he did not believe me." Jennifer's hands shook as she pulled out a USB drive. "These are copies of everything, all the evidence against him. I was going to bring them to the meeting tomorrow, but I think he is going to try to destroy the originals. Or worse." Claire took the drive. "Worse?" Jennifer looked at her with fear in her eyes. "Nathan has always been ambitious, but the man I saw today was capable of anything. I think he would hurt someone if he thought it would save him." "You need to go somewhere safe. Does Nathan know you are here?" "I do not think so. I took a cab, paid cash. But I need to leave the city, tonight." Claire grabbed her phone. "I will call Sarah. She can get you somewhere secure." After Jennifer left with Sarah's security team, Claire tried calling Ethan. No answer. She tried again, straight to voicemail. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. Something was wrong. She was reaching for her keys when her phone rang. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. Nathan's voice was unnaturally calm. "Hello, Sarah, or should I say Claire. You have been busy this week. Where is Ethan?" "He is fine, for now. But we need to talk, you and I, about how this is going to end." "If you hurt him, I swear I will destroy you." Nathan laughed. "You already are destroying me, my career, my reputation, my marriage, all gone because you could not let the past stay buried. You destroyed my life first. I am just returning the favor." A long pause. Then Nathan spoke again, and his voice was different, hollow, like all the humanity had drained out of it. "You think you have won. You have the evidence. You have your billionaire. You have your happy ending. But you are wrong. This is not over until I say it is over." The line went dead. Claire stood frozen, phone in hand, heart pounding. Then she was moving, grabbing her coat, calling Sarah, calling the police, calling everyone she could think of. Because she knew Nathan, knew how he thought, how he planned. And she knew that when men like him felt cornered, they lashed out. And Ethan was somewhere out there, possibly in danger, because of her. The nightmare was not over. It was just beginning. Claire's hands shook as she dialed Sarah Martinez, then the police, then Patricia. Her mind raced through worst-case scenarios. Nathan had sounded calm on the phone, too calm, the kind of calm that came before violence. She was grabbing her coat when her phone rang. Ethan's name on the screen. Relief flooded through her so powerfully she almost dropped the phone. "Where are you? Are you okay?" "I am fine. Still at the office, board meeting ran late." "Why? What happened?" Nathan called. "He knows about Jennifer. He knows about the evidence. And he implied he might hurt you." She heard Ethan moving, his voice suddenly sharp with focus. "I am leaving now. Stay at the penthouse, lock the doors, do not open them for anyone except me or Sarah." "Ethan, he sounded dangerous. Really dangerous." "All the more reason for you to stay put. I will be there in 20 minutes. Claire paced the penthouse like a caged animal until she heard Ethan's key in the lock. When he walked through the door, she threw herself into his arms. "I thought something had happened to you." "I'm okay. We are both okay." He held her tight, and Claire felt the fear slowly drain away, replaced by anger. At Nathan, at the situation, at the fact that even now, 3 years later, he still had power over her life. Sarah arrived 15 minutes later with a grim expression and a laptop under her arm. "We have a problem." Nathan Foster withdrew $500,000 from various accounts this afternoon. Cash. That is running money he is planning to disappear. "Can we stop him?" Ethan asked. "Not legally. He has not been charged with anything yet. The Bar Association review is still pending. Without an arrest warrant, he is free to go wherever he wants." Claire felt rage building. So he just gets away? After everything he did? Sarah set her laptop on the counter and opened it. "Not necessarily. We need to draw him out, get him to confess. Somewhere we can record it." "How?" "He knows we are on to him. He will never agree to meet with any of us." Patricia, who had arrived shortly after Sarah, spoke up. "What if we give him a reason he cannot refuse? Something that would bring him out into the open?" "Like what?" Patricia smiled, and there was steel in it. "An engagement party. Tomorrow night. For Ethan and Claire. Public, high profile. The kind of event Nathan's ego would not let him ignore." "You want to use ourselves as bait?" Claire asked. "I want to give Nathan Foster a stage. He is arrogant enough to think he can crash the party and expose you again. But this time we will be ready. We will have the place wired, record everything he says." Ethan shook his head. "That is too dangerous. If Nathan is unstable, putting Claire in a room with him is insane." "I will be there," Sarah said, "with security. Plain clothes, so Nathan will not notice. At the first sign of real danger, we move in. But if we can get him to confess on tape in front of witnesses, his lawyers will not be able to make this go away." Claire looked at each of them in turn. These people, who barely knew her a week ago, were willing to put themselves at risk to help her get justice. It was overwhelming. "What about Jennifer?" "Nathan knows she helped us. If he is desperate enough, he might go after her." "I already have Jennifer in a safe location," Sarah said. "Out of state, under protection. Nathan will not be able to touch her." "And if this plan works, if Nathan confesses, then we have him. Not just for what he did to you, but for embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy. He will spend years in prison." Claire took a deep breath. "Then let us do it." The next 24 hours were a blur of activity. Patricia organized the engagement party with frightening efficiency. The venue was her foundation's gala space, elegant but intimate. Invitations went out to a carefully selected guest list: board members, society figures, people whose presence would make the event legitimate and whose witness testimony would be unimpeachable. Sarah's team installed hidden cameras and microphones throughout the venue. Tiny devices concealed in flower arrangements, behind picture frames, inside decorative sculptures, every angle covered. Every word would be recorded. Claire spent the morning rehearsing with Sarah, learning how to steer a conversation toward confession, how to ask the right questions, how to stay calm even when every instinct screamed to run. "You have to make him feel superior," Sarah coached. "Men like Nathan need to believe they are smarter than everyone else. Let him think he is in control. Let him gloat. That is when he will slip up. And if he does not, if he just leaves, then we follow him until he makes a mistake. But my instinct says he will not be able to resist the opportunity to confront you one more time. His ego will not let him walk away." By evening, everything was in place. Claire wore an emerald green gown, elegant but not ostentatious. Ethan in a perfectly tailored suit. They looked like what they were supposed to be. A couple in love, celebrating their future. Patricia had invited about 50 guests, enough to make it a real event, but small enough that anyone who did not belong would stand out immediately. Sarah's security team was positioned at all the entrances, dressed as waitstaff and catering crew. The party began at 7. Guests arrived with congratulations and curiosity. Most of them had been at the gala the previous week. They had seen the drama unfold. Now they were here to witness the next chapter. Patricia made a gracious speech about love and second chances, about finding happiness in unexpected places. She welcomed Claire into the family with warmth that seemed entirely genuine, because it was. In the space of a week, Patricia had gone from being lied to by her son to being one of Claire's fiercest defenders. The first hour passed smoothly, too smoothly. Claire found herself checking the door every few minutes, waiting for Nathan to appear. The anticipation was worse than the confrontation would be. Then, exactly as Patricia had predicted, there was a commotion at the entrance. Victoria Monroe pushed past security, Robert Monroe behind her. Both were dressed for a formal event, but there was something disheveled about them, something desperate. Victoria's makeup was too heavy, trying to conceal what looked like sleepless nights. Robert's suit was expensive but rumpled. "You did not really think you could celebrate without us," Victoria said, her voice carrying across the room. "After all, we are practically family." Ethan's voice was ice cold. "You were not invited. Public venue, public celebration. We have every right to be here." Robert walked directly to Claire, and she could smell alcohol on his breath. It was barely past 8. "Miss Mitchell, or should I say, future Mrs. Hartwell, I am curious. Have you told Ethan about your pending Bar Association review?" "There is no pending review," Claire said confidently, just as they had rehearsed. "My case is being reopened based on new evidence." Victoria laughed, but it sounded brittle. "What new evidence?" "You are bluffing." "Am I?" Claire kept her voice level. "Or do you know something I do not?" It was a calculated risk, implying that Victoria was involved. But Sarah had found connections between Victoria and Nathan. Phone records, email exchanges. They had been coordinating. Another commotion at the door. Nathan Foster entered, looking wild-eyed and frantic. His suit was wrinkled, his hair uncombed. This was not the polished attorney Claire remembered. This was someone coming apart at the seams. Jennifer, where are you?" He spotted Claire and Ethan, and his face contorted with rage. "What did you do? Where is my wife?" Claire forced herself to stay calm, even though every muscle in her body wanted to run. "She is safe, safer than she has been in 3 years." Nathan turned to Robert Monroe. "She knows, they all know." Robert's voice was sharp. "Shut up, Foster." But the damage was done. The crowd was paying full attention now, phones out, recording. This was better than any soap opera. Sarah stepped forward from her position near the wall, badge visible now. "Mr. Foster, I am Detective Sarah Martinez. I have some questions for you regarding financial irregularities at Morrison and Foster LLP." Nathan backed away. "You cannot prove anything." "Actually, we can." Jennifer Foster stepped out from a side room where she had been waiting with 2 of Sarah's security team. She looked small but determined. Her hand rested protectively over her pregnant belly. "Hello, Nathan." Nathan went pale. "What are you doing?" "What I should have done 3 years ago. Telling the truth." Victoria screamed. "You stupid girl! Do you know what you have done?" Sarah raised her voice, addressing everyone present. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you are about to witness is the resolution of a 3-year-old fraud case." She turned to Nathan. "Mr. Foster, I have a warrant for your arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy." Nathan's control finally shattered. "You cannot prove anything." "I covered my tracks. I was careful." "Were you?" Jennifer's voice was quiet but strong. "Because I gave them everything. All the files you kept in your home office. Every email where you admitted to forging Claire's signature. Every communication with my father about framing her. All the proof of the embezzlement you blamed on her." "How could you betray me?" Nathan's voice rose to a shout. "After everything I gave you?" "You gave me lies, Nathan. A marriage built on someone else's destruction." Jennifer pulled out a USB drive and handed it to Sarah. "This is everything, all the evidence against him." Nathan lunged toward Jennifer, but security was already moving. They intercepted him, holding him back as he struggled. Claire stepped forward, and Nathan focused on her with pure hatred. Claire was weak, he spat. She would have wasted that partnership. "I deserved it more. I was your colleague, your friend, I trusted you. And you were naive." Nathan laughed bitterly, the sound echoing in the silent room. "In this world, trust gets you nowhere. Power does. Monroe promised me everything. A partnership in his firm, connections, the information that would make me indispensable." Robert hissed, "Foster, stop talking!" But Nathan was beyond caring now. His entire facade had crumbled, leaving only rage and desperation. "You had to bring her back. She was gone, forgotten. And you dragged her back into my life." His voice rose to a scream. "I worked too hard to let some waitress destroy what I built." Sarah nodded to her team. "That is enough. Nathan Foster, you are under arrest." As they moved to handcuff him, Victoria tried to leave. Sarah's security blocked her path. "Miss Monroe, you will need to stay as well. We have questions about your involvement in corporate espionage." Victoria turned on her father. "Daddy, do something." Robert looked defeated. All the fight gone out of him. "Victoria, be quiet." But Victoria was unraveling just like Nathan. "Why should I be quiet? We did nothing wrong. Ethan betrayed me first by loving his company more than me. That is not true, Ethan said quietly. Yes, it is. Victoria's voice broke, years of resentment pouring out. Every dinner interrupted by calls, every vacation cut short, every moment sacrificed for Hartwell Technologies. I was lonely, Ethan. Daniel paid attention to me. Tears streamed down her face, ruining her carefully applied makeup. And when you caught us, you did not even fight for me. You just coldly ended it, like I was a business transaction gone wrong. So you stole from my company for revenge? For survival! Victoria was sobbing now, all pretense abandoned. Daddy's company is failing. We needed that merger information to compete. I gave it to him because he is my father. Robert's face was ashen. Victoria, shut up. You are making it worse. Victoria turned to the crowd, to Ethan, to anyone who would listen. I loved you, and you made me feel like nothing. Sarah stepped forward with her laptop, voice cutting through the emotional chaos. Mr. Monroe, Miss Monroe, Mr. Foster, I have recordings of all three of you discussing your plans. She played audio over the venue's sound system. Nathan's voice, clear and unmistakable. If we can prove Hartwell's judgment is impaired by this fake marriage, the board will force him out. Robert's voice. And when he is out, we acquire the company at bankruptcy prices. Victoria's voice. What about Claire Mitchell? Nathan's voice again. I will handle her. She has no proof of what I did. Her word against mine. The crowd gasped. People were still recording, capturing everything. This would be all over the news within the hour. The scandal of the year. Sarah continued. I also have Jennifer Foster's testimony, documented evidence of embezzlement, and proof of corporate espionage. Mr. Foster, you are under arrest. Security moved in, handcuffing Nathan despite his struggles. He was still shouting, but the words were incoherent now, just rage and desperation. Miss Monroe, Mr. Monroe, you will be hearing from the SEC regarding insider trading and corporate espionage. Robert Monroe walked toward the exit, still free for now but knowing it was temporary. His empire was crumbling, and everyone could see it. This is not over, Hartwell. Yes, it is. Ethan's voice was final, absolute, and Robert knew it. He left without another word, Victoria following, still crying, mascara streaking her face. As Nathan was led away in handcuffs, he locked eyes with Claire one final time. The hatred there was pure and absolute, but underneath it, Claire saw something else. Fear. The recognition that he had lost everything while she had gotten hers back. After security had removed Nathan, Victoria, and Robert, the venue erupted in chaos. Guests talking over each other, phones ringing, reporters who had somehow gotten wind of the event trying to push their way inside. Patricia took charge, thanking everyone for coming and politely but firmly suggesting they leave. Within 30 minutes, the venue was empty except for Patricia, Ethan, Claire, Sarah, and Jennifer. Jennifer sat on one of the chairs looking exhausted. I cannot believe I just did that. I stood up to Nathan. After 3 years of being afraid, I actually stood up to him. Claire sat beside her. You were incredibly brave. I was terrified, but I kept thinking about my baby, about the kind of person I want to be for them. She looked at Claire. You gave me the courage. Watching you rebuild after he destroyed you. If you could survive that, I could survive leaving him. What will you do now? Start over, somewhere far from here. Sarah is helping me relocate. New city, new name if necessary. Just me and my baby. She stood, preparing to leave with Sarah's security team. Thank you, Claire, for fighting back, for not letting him win. After Jennifer left, Patricia poured champagne for the 4 of them who remained. To justice, she said, hard-fought and well-earned. They touched glasses, but Claire could not quite celebrate yet. It felt too fresh, too raw. Nathan was arrested, but the legal process would take months, years, maybe. And there was always the possibility of appeals, of technicalities that could set him free. You are thinking too much, Ethan said softly. I can see it in your eyes. I just keep waiting for something to go wrong, for this to fall apart. It will not fall apart. We have him on tape confessing in front of 50 witnesses. His wife testified against him. The evidence is overwhelming. Patricia touched Claire's hand. Dear, for 3 years you lived in survival mode. It is going to take time to learn how to trust that you are safe now. Sarah packed up her laptop. The Bar Association hearing is scheduled for next week. With this evidence, your reinstatement is a formality. Nathan and Richard Foster are both going to prison. Victoria and Robert Monroe are facing their own legal troubles. She looked at Claire directly. You won. Completely and totally. Now you just have to let yourself believe it. Over the next week, everything moved faster than Claire could process. The news coverage was intense, but mostly positive. The story had shifted from scandal to vindication. Woman wrongfully accused fights back and wins. Manhattan's elite brought down by their own corruption. Nathan Foster's bail was set at $2 million. He could not make it. Richard Foster, his uncle and co-conspirator, was also arrested. Morrison and Foster LLP was under investigation. Several other attorneys implicated in the fraud scheme. Victoria Monroe and her father were cooperating with federal investigators, hoping for reduced charges. Their real estate empire was being dismantled piece by piece. The Bar Association hearing took less than an hour. The panel reviewed Sarah's evidence, heard Jennifer's testimony via video conference, and made their decision. Claire Bennett, the panel chairman, announced, "This panel finds that you were wrongfully accused and convicted. The evidence clearly shows you were framed for crimes committed by Nathan Foster and Richard Foster. We are fully reinstating your law license, effective immediately. We also issue a formal apology for the injustice you suffered." Claire stood as applause filled the hearing room. Ethan, Patricia, Rosie, Maya, Sarah, even some of her old colleagues from before the accusation. They had all come to witness her vindication. Afterward, standing on the courthouse steps with reporters shouting questions, Claire made a brief statement. "For 3 years, I carried the weight of accusations I did not deserve. I lost my career, my reputation, my sense of self. But I learned something important during that time. Your value is not determined by what others say about you. It is determined by how you respond when everything is taken away." She looked at Ethan, who stood beside her. "I am grateful to everyone who believed in me, who fought for me, who reminded me that justice delayed is not justice denied." To the reporters, she added, "I will be opening my own practice, specializing in helping people who have been wrongfully accused. Because I know what that feels like, and no one should have to face it alone." More questions were shouted, but Claire was done talking. She had said what needed to be said. The rest would take care of itself. That evening, Claire returned to Rosie's Corner Cafe. It felt like coming home after a long journey. The regular customers cheered when she walked in. Rosie cried. Maya hugged her so hard Claire could barely breathe. "Does this mean you are too fancy to work here now?" Tommy asked, grinning. Claire laughed. "I will always have time for this place. You gave me a home when I had nothing. That does not change just because I have my law license back." Mr. Pietro raised his coffee cup. "To our Claire, lawyer, fighter, friend." Everyone raised their cups, and Claire felt tears building. These people, this place, they had saved her when she did not know how to save herself. Later, back at the penthouse, Claire and Ethan sat on the terrace. The city glittered below them, and Claire realized she was seeing it differently now. Not as a place that had rejected her, but as a place where she belonged. "What are you thinking about?" Ethan asked. "How much has changed in 2 weeks. How my entire life has been transformed. For the better? Definitely for the better." She turned to face him. "You know, when you walked into that cafe and made that ridiculous proposition, I thought you were just another entitled rich man who saw me as something to be bought. And now? Now I know you are an entitled rich man who saw me as someone worth fighting for. Big difference." Ethan laughed and pulled her close. "So, about that proposition, the $5,000. Do you still want it? You know what? Keep it. Consider it payment for the best 2 weeks of my life." They kissed as the city lights sparkled around them, and Claire felt something she had not felt in years. Peace. Not just the absence of danger, but the genuine presence of happiness. The nightmare was over. The battle was won. And for the first time in 3 years, Claire could look toward the future without fear. But there was still one more chapter to write, one more step to take, and it would require courage she was not sure she had yet. Tomorrow, she would open her new law office, welcome her first client, begin the next phase of her life. Tonight, though, she would simply be here, with Ethan, with hope, with possibility. And that was enough. 3 months after the engagement party that brought down Nathan Foster, Claire stood in front of a modest office building in downtown Manhattan. The sign above the door read Bennett Justice Advocacy in simple, dignified letters. No pretense, no false promises, just a commitment to help people who had been where she had been. Inside, the office was small but warm. 2 desks, a small conference room, walls painted in soft cream. Photos from Rosie's Corner Cafe hung alongside her law degree, a reminder of where she came from, where she learned what really mattered. Ethan had offered to bankroll something bigger, a full suite in a prestigious building, staff, resources. But Claire had refused. She needed to build this herself, earn it the way she had earned everything else since losing her first career, through hard work and integrity. Her first day of business. The door opened at 9 sharp. A young woman walked in, 26 or 27, with dark circles under her eyes and the kind of exhaustion that came from fighting alone for too long. She carried a folder clutched against her chest like a shield. "Are you Claire Bennett?" "I am. You must be Jessica Torres." They had spoken on the phone twice. Jessica's story was painfully familiar. Business partner who stole from their joint venture. False accusations of embezzlement. Reputation destroyed before she could defend herself. It was Claire's story with different names. "Thank you for seeing me. I know you are just opening. You probably have more important clients." Claire gestured to the empty waiting room. "You are my first client, Jessica. And there is no one more important than someone who has been wrongfully accused. I know exactly what that feels like." Over the next 2 hours, Jessica told her story. The startup tech company she had built with her college roommate. The discovery that thousands of dollars were missing. The roommate's immediate accusations. The evidence that appeared, seemingly from nowhere, pointing at Jessica. Claire took notes, her legal mind already working through the angles. This case was winnable. Not easy, but winnable. The evidence trail was sloppy. The timeline did not make sense. And Jessica had something crucial. Documentation of her own, bank records, emails, proof that she could not have made the transfers her partner claimed. "We can fight this," Claire said when Jessica finished. "It will take time. It will be hard. But we can win." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "You really believe me?" "I do. And more importantly, I am going to make everyone else believe you too." After Jessica left, Claire sat at her desk and allowed herself a moment to absorb what had just happened. She was practicing law again, helping someone who desperately needed help, using her skills for something that mattered. Her phone buzzed. "Ethan, how did it go?" "I just took my first case. A good one. The kind that matters." "I am proud of you. Dinner tonight to celebrate?" Claire smiled, always. Over the next few weeks, more clients came. Word spread through networks of people who had been wrongfully accused, wrongfully terminated, trapped in situations where power imbalances made justice seem impossible. Claire took every case she could handle, some pro bono, some on contingency, none for the kind of money she used to chase at Morrison and Foster. But the satisfaction was deeper than anything she had felt in her old career. Every client she helped was a piece of her own redemption. Proof that Nathan Foster had not destroyed her. He had just forced her to become someone better. Jessica's case moved through the system faster than expected. The roommate's evidence fell apart under scrutiny. Bank records proved impossible to explain away. Within 6 weeks, the charges against Jessica were dropped. Her former partner was under investigation for the actual theft. On the day Jessica's name was cleared, she came to the office with tears streaming down her face. "How can I ever thank you?" Pay it forward. When you rebuild your life and someone else needs help, be there for them the way I was there for you. Jessica wiped her eyes. "Can I ask you something? How did you survive? When you lost everything, how did you keep going?" Claire thought about those dark months, the depression, the isolation, the morning she almost did not get out of bed because there seemed to be no point. "I found people who believed in me when I stopped believing in myself. A woman named Rosie who gave me a job without asking questions. Friends who stood by me when I had nothing to offer them. And eventually, I found someone who showed me that being vulnerable is not the same as being weak." Jessica nodded, understanding in her eyes. "I want to learn from you. Not just legal stuff. How to help people the way you help them." Claire felt something shift in her chest. Hope for the future. Not just her own, but something bigger. "Tell you what. Once your life is back on track, come back and talk to me. Maybe we can work something out." After Jessica left, Claire stood at her office window looking out at Manhattan, the same city that had rejected her 3 years ago, the same legal community that had believed Nathan's lies. But now she was back, on her own terms, building something that mattered. Her phone rang. "Patricia, dinner at my place this Friday. Just family. I am making that chicken dish you liked." "I would love that." "And Claire, bring an appetite. I am inviting Rosie and her crew too. It is time our families properly met." That evening, Claire told Ethan about Patricia's dinner invitation while they prepared a simple meal in his penthouse kitchen. Their penthouse now. Claire had officially moved in 2 weeks ago, though most of her clothes had been there for a month. "Your mother is something else," inviting the entire cafe to a family dinner. "She likes you, and she respects what you have built. Not everyone would have survived what you went through, much less come out stronger." Ethan set down the knife he had been using to chop vegetables and turned to face her. "Speaking of building things, there is something I have been wanting to ask you, something important." Claire's heart started racing. The way he was looking at her, the tone of his voice, she knew what was coming. "This started as a fake arrangement," Ethan continued. "One night, $5,000, then we walk away. But somewhere between that first coffee and now, it became real. The most real thing in my life." He pulled a ring box from his pocket. Not the same one from before. This was different, simpler, more meaningful. "Claire Bennett, I am not asking you to pretend anymore. I am asking you to be my wife, for real, for always. Will you marry me?" Claire looked at the ring, a sapphire surrounded by small diamonds. Beautiful but not ostentatious. Exactly her style, even though they had never discussed it. "You know I was going to say yes back at the engagement party. Before Nathan showed up. Before all the chaos." "I know. But I wanted to ask again. Now that the dust has settled, now that you have had time to build your own life, independent of mine, I need you to say yes because you want this, not because you need rescuing." Claire took the ring box from his hands and opened it. The sapphire caught the light, deep blue like the ocean at dusk. "I say yes, not because you rescued me. You did not. I rescued myself. But you stood beside me while I did it. You believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself. You fought for me when you could have walked away." She looked up at him, letting him see all the emotion she usually kept locked away. "I say yes because I love you, because you make me want to be brave, because when I am with you, I am the person I always wanted to be." Ethan slid the ring onto her finger, and they kissed in the kitchen with half-chopped vegetables forgotten on the counter. It was not a fairy tale kiss. It was better, real, earned, built on truth instead of fantasy. When they finally pulled apart, Ethan grinned. "So, do you want a big wedding, society event, or something small?" "Small. Definitely small. In fact, I know exactly where I want to get married." "Where?" "Rosie's Corner Cafe, where this whole crazy story started." Ethan laughed. "My mother is going to have opinions about that." "Let her have opinions. It is where I found my real family, where I learned what actually matters. That is where I want to start our marriage." "Then that is where we will do it." The next 6 months passed in a blur of planning and growth. Claire's practice expanded. She hired Jessica Torres as a paralegal, then as an associate attorney, once Jessica's own legal troubles were completely resolved. 2 women who had been knocked down, now helping others stand back up. Nathan Foster's trial was swift. The evidence was overwhelming. The recorded confession, Jennifer's testimony, bank records, documents. He was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Richard Foster got 7 years for his role as the mastermind. Victoria Monroe pleaded guilty to insider trading and corporate espionage. She received 2 years probation and a lifetime ban from serving on any corporate board. Her father's real estate empire collapsed. Robert Monroe filed for bankruptcy and quietly disappeared from Manhattan society. Through it all, Claire focused on building her practice and planning a wedding that reflected who she really was. Not the society event Patricia probably would have preferred, but something authentic, small, intimate, real. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday in early autumn, 6 months to the day after Ethan's proposal. Rosie closed the cafe for the afternoon, and Patricia's event planner transformed it without losing its essential character. White flowers, candles, soft lighting. The space looked magical, but still felt like home. The guest list was small. Patricia and her closest friends, a few board members from Hartwell Technologies, Sarah Martinez, Jennifer Foster, who had relocated to Oregon and was raising her daughter alone but healing, Jessica Torres, and, of course, everyone from the cafe, Rosie, Maya, Tommy, Mr. Pietro, Mrs. Henderson, the regulars who had stood by Claire when she was invisible. Claire wore a simple ivory dress, elegant but not extravagant. She had chosen it herself at a small boutique in Brooklyn, rejecting Patricia's offers to take her to Fifth Avenue designers. This was her day, and she wanted to feel like herself. Rosie walked her down the makeshift aisle between tables that had been rearranged for the ceremony. The older woman wore her best dress and had tears streaming down her weathered face. Her warm brown eyes shone with pride. "I am so proud of you, Mija," she whispered as they walked, her slight accent making the words even more tender. "You took all that pain and turned it into something beautiful. You gave me a home when I had nowhere else to go. I would not be here without you." "You would. You are stronger than you know. I just gave you a safe place to remember that." Ethan waited at the front of the cafe in a perfectly tailored suit. When he saw Claire, his entire face transformed. The successful CEO mask fell away, leaving only genuine emotion, love, joy, wonder that this was actually happening. Patricia stood beside him, dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. Even the formidable Patricia Hartwell could not maintain her composure watching her son marry the woman who had changed his life. The ceremony was short. No lengthy speeches or elaborate rituals, just vows they had written themselves. Ethan spoke first. His voice was steady but thick with emotion. "Claire, you walked into my life when I had forgotten how to be human. I was all business, all walls, all protection against being hurt again. You showed me that real strength is not about avoiding pain. It is about facing it, surviving it, and choosing to be open anyway." He took her hands. "I promise to stand beside you, not in front of you. To support your dreams, not try to control them. To be your partner in every sense. To choose you every day, even on the days when life is hard." Claire's turn. She had practiced these words 100 times, but looking at Ethan now, she almost forgot them. Almost just said what was in her heart without structure or planning. "Ethan, when you walked into Rosie's cafe 3 years ago, I was hiding from my past, from pain, from the possibility of ever trusting anyone again. You offered me $5,000 to pretend to be your wife, and I turned you down because I thought I knew what you were. Another rich man who saw people as things to be bought." She smiled through tears. "I was so wrong. You saw me when I was invisible. You believed in me when I had stopped believing in myself. You fought for me when you had every reason to walk away." Her voice broke. "I promise to be your equal, not your dependent. To challenge you when you need it. To support you always. To build a life with you based on truth instead of convenience. To be brave enough to stay, even when it is scary." The officiant pronounced them married, and they kissed, while their small gathering of truly important people applauded. No flashbulbs, no society pages, just genuine happiness from people who actually cared. The reception was perfect in its simplicity. Rosie had cooked her famous dishes, her Mexican heritage shining through in the tamales and pozole, alongside the Italian specialties she had learned from the previous cafe owner. Patricia had provided wine from her personal collection. Sarah Martinez gave a toast about justice and second chances that had everyone dabbing at their eyes. Jessica Torres spoke about mentorship and paying forward the help you receive. But the most moving moment came from Jennifer Foster via video call from Oregon. She appeared on a laptop screen set up on one of the tables, her baby daughter sleeping in her arms. "Claire, Ethan, I wish I could be there in person, but I wanted you to know what your courage meant to me." Jennifer's voice was strong now, so different from the frightened woman who had shown up at the penthouse with a USB drive. "Watching Claire fight back against Nathan gave me the strength to leave, to protect my daughter, to build a life based on truth instead of fear. You saved me by saving yourself." She looked directly at the camera. "This little girl is named Claire, after the woman who showed me what strength really looks like." There was not a dry eye in the cafe. Even Ethan was wiping at his face, trying to maintain composure and failing. After the formal reception ended, the party continued in true Rosie's Corner Cafe fashion. Someone brought out a guitar. Mr. Pietro sang old Italian songs. Maya taught Patricia how to salsa dance, and Patricia surprised everyone by being quite good at it. Tommy and Ethan argued good-naturedly about baseball, while sharing a bottle of Patricia's expensive wine. Claire watched it all from a quiet corner, Rosie beside her with a cup of coffee. "This is what I always wanted," Claire said softly. "Not the big wedding, not the society connections. This. People I love, together, happy." You found your tribe, mija. That is rarer than any fancy party. Rosie put her arm around Claire's shoulders. You know, when you first came to me 3 years ago, so broken and lost, I wondered if you would survive. The look in your eyes was so hopeless. But you gave me a chance anyway, because I saw something underneath the pain: fire, pride, the refusal to accept that your story was over just because someone else said it was. Rosie squeezed her shoulder. You rebuilt yourself into someone even stronger than you were before. That is the real victory, not the trial, not getting your license back. You. As the evening wound down and guests started leaving, Patricia approached Claire. The older woman had a gift box in her hands, elegantly wrapped. This was going to be your wedding gift, but I think now is a better time. Claire opened it carefully. Inside was a leather-bound journal. Not new, but well cared for. The pages were filled with handwriting she did not recognize. This was Ethan's father's journal, Patricia explained. He kept it during the year before he died. There is not much in it about business. Mostly thoughts about life, family, what really matters. She touched the journal gently. There is an entry near the end where he talks about success, how he thought it meant money and power and winning. But then he realized true success is about integrity, about standing up for what is right even when it costs you, about building something that matters more than profit. Patricia's eyes were bright with tears. He would have loved you, Claire. You embody everything he came to believe in before he died. And you have given my son those same values. That is a gift beyond price. Claire hugged Patricia, both women crying now. Thank you for accepting me, for fighting for me, for becoming the mother I always needed. That night, back at the penthouse that was now officially theirs together, Claire and Ethan stood on the terrace looking out at Manhattan. The city glittered below them, millions of lives being lived in the darkness. Can you believe where we started? Claire asked. A terrible proposition and a righteous refusal. The worst pickup line in history. But it led to this. To this. They stood together in comfortable silence. Tomorrow they would leave for a honeymoon in Italy. 2 weeks of pasta and wine and exploring ancient cities. But tonight was about being present, grateful, aware of how unlikely this all was. Claire's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Mrs. Bennett, my name is Sophia Martinez. I was given your contact information by a friend. I am being accused of theft by my supervisor. I did not do it, I swear. No one believes me. I am going to lose everything. Can you help me? Claire showed the text to Ethan. He read it and smiled. Your first call as a married woman? Kind of perfect. Claire typed back. Sophia, I believe you. Come to my office Monday morning at 9. We will get through this together. You are not alone anymore. She hit send and put her phone away. And that is how it continues. One person at a time. One case at a time. Proving that justice still exists if you fight hard enough for it. It is a good life we are building. The best. They kissed as the city lights sparkled around them. And Claire felt something she had not felt in years. Complete peace. Not just the absence of pain, but the presence of genuine happiness. Hard-earned. Built on truth. Stronger because of everything they had survived to get here. 1 year later, Claire sat at her desk at Bennett Justice Advocacy reviewing case files. The office had expanded. 3 attorneys now, including Jessica, a paralegal, an investigator. They were handling twice as many cases as they had space for, but Claire refused to turn anyone away. Her phone rang, the receptionist. Mrs. Hartwell, there is a young woman here. She does not have an appointment, but she says it is urgent. She is crying. Send her back. A moment later, a woman in her early 30s entered the office. Her clothes were professional but rumpled. Her eyes red from crying. She held a folder like it was the only thing keeping her together. Claire recognized that look, that desperation, that fragile hope that maybe, just maybe, someone would believe her. I am Sophia Martinez. I am the one who texted you a year ago about being accused of theft. You helped me. You got the charges dropped. You saved my career. Claire remembered. Sophia's case had been her first as a married woman. A supervisor framing a subordinate to cover his own embezzlement. Classic abuse of power. They had proven Sophia's innocence within 3 months. I'm glad we could help. What brings you here today? Sophia set down her folder and pulled out a business card. Bennett Justice Advocacy. Jessica Torres, Associate Attorney. Jessica gave me her card 6 months ago. Said if I ever encountered someone who needed help like I did, I should reach out. Well, I found someone.
Who?
My cousin. She is being accused of fraud by her business partner. The evidence looks bad, but I know her. She would never steal. And the whole situation feels so familiar, like what happened to me. Sophia's hands shook slightly. I told her about you, about how you believed me when no one else would, about how you fought for me. She needs that now. She needs someone who understands. Claire felt tears building but refused to let them fall. This was it, the moment that made everything worthwhile. The proof that helping one person created ripples that spread outward. Bring her in. We will take the case. Thank you. Sophia stood to leave, then paused at the door. You know what you gave me? It was not just clearing my name. You showed me that one person who believes in you can change everything. That is a gift I will carry the rest of my life. After Sophia left, Claire sat at her desk and allowed herself a moment to absorb it. The cycle was continuing. Help one person. That person helps another. Justice spreading through connections between people who refuse to accept that power always wins. Her phone buzzed. Ethan, dinner tonight? My mother wants to discuss the charity foundation. Claire smiled. Patricia had recently made Claire a board member of her foundation. They were launching a new program. Legal aid for people wrongfully accused. Funding provided by the foundation. Services provided by Bennett Justice Advocacy. It was going to help hundreds of people who otherwise would have no chance. Sounds perfect. I will bring the proposal documents. She stood and walked to her office window. Manhattan stretched out before her. The same city that had rejected her. The same streets where she had walked invisible and broken. But she was not that person anymore. She was Claire Hartwell, attorney, fighter, survivor, wife, mentor, someone who had lost everything and built something better from the ashes. Her phone rang again. The receptionist. Mrs. Hartwell, there is another walk-in. Young man. Says he was fired for whistleblowing. Has no money for a lawyer. Should I send him back? Claire picked up a yellow legal pad and clicked her pen. Send him back. And Emily, clear my afternoon. This one sounds important. As she waited for her new client, Claire thought about that day 3 years ago. Standing behind the counter at Rosie's Cafe, Ethan Hartwell walking through the door. That terrible proposition that changed everything. $5,000 to pretend to be his wife for one night. She had turned him down, defended her dignity, refused to be bought. And somehow, impossibly, that refusal had led to this, to real love, real justice, real purpose. The door opened. A young man entered, maybe 25, with the same hopeless look Claire had once worn. Mr. Johnson? I am Claire Hartwell. Tell me your story, and know that whatever happened, you are not alone anymore. As he began to talk, Claire took notes with the careful attention of someone who understood exactly what was at stake. Not just a case, not just a career, but someone's entire sense of self, their belief that justice still existed, their hope that tomorrow could be better than today. This was her life now, not perfect, not easy, but real. Built on truth instead of lies, on courage instead of fear, on the belief that one person could make a difference. And every day, every client, every victory proved that belief was not just hopeful thinking. It was truth. Outside, Manhattan went about its business. Millions of people living their lives. Most of them would never know her name, never hear her story, never understand the battles she had fought to be standing in this office helping a desperate stranger. But somewhere in that vast city, someone was being wrongly accused. Someone was losing hope. Someone was wondering if anyone would ever believe them. And now, because Claire had survived, because she had fought back, because she had built something that mattered, that person had a chance. That person had Bennett Justice Advocacy. That person had hope. And sometimes, hope was enough to change everything. The young man finished his story. Claire looked at him across the desk and saw herself 3 years ago, broken, desperate, clinging to the last threads of dignity. She smiled. The kind of smile that came from knowing exactly how this story could end if someone just believed. Mr. Johnson, I am going to tell you something important. What happened to you was wrong, but it does not define you. You get to choose what happens next, and I am going to help you make that choice. She opened her legal pad to a fresh page. Now, let us talk about how we are going to win this case, because we are going to win, I promise you that. As she began outlining their strategy, the sun broke through the clouds outside, filling her office with golden light, and Claire knew, with absolute certainty, that she was exactly where she was meant to be. doing exactly what she was meant to do, living the life she had earned, not in spite of everything that happened, but because of it. And that made all the difference.